What's up, my people? And welcome again to According to the Lie. And it's time again for some real talk with Mr. O. I want to continue that conversation I've started with you earlier. I want to finish it up and get into the uh, the topic I've been working on for a while, and that's the attack on the black man. I want to finish up this video essay and so I can move on into some other topics. Now I'm on element 9 and there's number 10 to go, and that means I'll be out of it and I want to move forward. But here it is again. I want to share with you this conversation and look again at what I see as the politics behind what went into and what is going on pretty much in any criminal crusade in this country in terms of the politics and the activation of laws in this country, how they eventually affect us. But before I get into that, I want to make sure I cover myself. I see that I'm pretty much the only one who keeps using or documenting or citing or quoting to you the fair use. Here it is. I want you to read it for yourself. That way, I am going to be citing those media sources because based on my research and my studies and what I've got brought together, there's going to be some criticism. There's going to be some comments, commentary, however you want to put that. You know how they like to play on words. So there's going to be some commentary about the white media and how they are employed. Again, I say, the purpose of the white media, is to lead us away from the truth, to lead us into confusion, to look to it for clarity, which it will never give. And it works hand in hand. Like they say, it's the fourth rail of the government. The fourth, whatever nonsense they keep calling this thing. But anyway, there I'm quoting that for you so you can cite it. But so, let me get into some things again I've been establishing here. I've been working on. I want to get that done. I want to look at this thing here one more time. A nice little graphics I've worked on and put together. I'm gonna keep showing that with you because again, leading back to the media, the white media, we're way past mind control. We're under thought control because our thoughts are not even our own. And quite frankly, I call the media also the visual scriptures of our times, because if we don't see it coming from CNN, Fox or ABC or Instagram or Twitter, we don't believe it's real. So there's a real ploy, a real working together, a real purpose. And I like to play old sorry Jim Crow Joe, sorry ass Jim Crow Joe again at the end, who says that's a political consensus. You think that's the only time they ever had a political consensus when it came to mass incarceration? That's why I play that. That's why I reach for that. But that's enough said there. Let me look at again what I call the episodic nature of the white media. The episodic nature of the white media is like this, family. One more time. We need to see this and understand that the episodic nature of the white media is that they will, number one, they will report on a story. Pardon me for that A there. Report on a story with an angle, a slant today, and then number two, they will repeat a report on a similar story and connect it with the first report. Number three, they may do something like this: repeat or report a similar story and make no mention of the first story, even though it's very much related. And number four, they will repeat or report on a similar story that contradicts the first. And again, they don't even see that they are doing that. Maybe I'm being a little naive. They do see that they're doing things like that because, again, it's a forced slant, it's an angle. They're very much aware of what they say. They just choose to act like they don't. Insert instances. Again, that's the nature of the beast. He's about confusion, and it leads you to think that figure out whether or not he is or he isn't. So again, look over those things, how the media acts and operates with us. So let me just get pulled back because I want you to see something about how the media does this kind of episodic reporting. Again, before all of that pandemic that was going down, had it not been for the pandemic, the state of Georgia was being besieged by gangs. That was the media reporting up to February of 2020. we were getting constant barrages. And if you look back at my videos, I say to you, every crime incident that went down, no matter what it was, it had some gang related or relationship or connection. Every time a repeater would do something about gangs, he would say, repeat what the law enforcement guy said, it was gang. Because if you reach back, and again, look at, I wish I could put all my videos here together for you. You know, they had that great gang conference here in Georgia, and one of the guys sitting in that conference, look at my videos under that conditioning one, dealing with the conditioning of your mind. He was saying 40 to 90% of crime was involved with gang. 40 to 90% of crime was gang related. These are the experts, you know, authority. You know, they had that gang, you know, gang investigation association out there with them. You know, whatever that was. Some non-profit think tank of police officers, through 4, 6, 7, 8 of them. But anyway, talking about 71,000 gangs. So before the pandemic, you know, we was about to be totally attacked. This state was about to be totally attacked by the gang. Then the pandemic happened, and I shared with you in that all of a sudden, you know, the gangs went out of business. You know, the shelter-in-place orders scared them out of business. Everybody just went home. Crime stopped, supposedly. We don't know. But suddenly, now again, that was 2 years ago, so I got to be kind of fair and just about it. But suddenly, 2 years ago, that was 2 years ago, but suddenly now, and it's probably, let me get my thoughts together here. I want to share with you this. Share that. Now, crime is back on the rise. Violent crime is on the rise here in Georgia. That's what I want you to see. And so the Speaker of the House, he wants to have a hearing, he says, about the rise of crime in Atlanta, not just in Georgia, but in Atlanta. And it was unusual because here it is, the Georgia Speaker of the House, the state legislator, decided to look at the city of Atlanta and say, hey, and he wrote a letter to Mayor Bottom. And, you know, saying the rise is so out of control, it might be time for the legislature to take action and look into what's going on in the state, in the city. And so the media is like, wow, this is significant. You know, you know, the state has the power to take over. No, it just shares the truth. You know, in their BS, you get to see the truth going on. In his letter, let me get on down to the bottom where you can see it for yourself, family. He pretty outlines and says to you that, hey, there's a lot of rise in crime going on in the city of Atlanta. Again, white folks getting scared. They want something done about it. They'll go to the governor with him right there. So he gets to the point of this letter and outlines this to the honorable mayor of the city of Atlanta. Her response at her city address is, you know, if you got it, we did all we got to do. We don't make it real hard. But if you look closely at his letter, he makes no reference to gangs. He just says there's a rise in crime. But the no good non-threatening Negroes, her first response back was, oh my goodness, you know, she had to throw the street gang thing into it, even though he makes no reference to it, but she pushes it back up. Those are those gatekeeper kind of mentality. Let me get into that. That's a gatekeeper mentality, that boule, that 10%er who forgets the 11. She doing her job was keeping the gate right and say, hey, it's some other issue, you know, what we supposed to be working on. But he made no reference of it. So she was on point with throwing it back into that quagmire that seems to again be the criminal crusades that they get into. Enough said with that. I put a lot of time behind that to get to in my point here. Let me bring myself back in here for family so you can see. Let me get him out and bring back. So again, you will see that this is the episodic nature of the media. That's how it works. They have no idea. They do have an idea. Let me watch my words for what I'm saying. They do have an idea. They know exactly what they're doing. When they one day will share with you a story, and then the next day they'll share a story that's similar to the other one and make a connection if they decide to. Then they'll report on another story or the same story again, a similar story, make no reference to that other story, or they'll make a report on a similar story again and it will contradict that first story. And it's up to you. It's like the, what is it? Who is it that decided to fund NPR, put in millions of billions of dollars behind NPR on their medical reporting? And let's see, I think Bill Gates was into that. Maybe I'll bring that in later, but we'll look into that. And it was reported that someone asked NPR, National Public Radio, wouldn't that be a contradiction for your medical reporting if you are accepting money from this philanthropist, this rich guy, who's interested in medical activity? The one of the higher ups at NPR said, "Well, it's on the public to figure out whether or not the truth is what is the truth and what is not the truth, or is there objectivity or not objectivity. Let the buyer beware." That's the operation of the white media. It's up to you to figure out what the truth is, because they're going to lead you into confusion. Okay, enough said with that. I kind of belabored the point. I want to get on out of that and move more further into, again, what are we talking about, family? We want to talk about this right here. We're on element 9. Let me bring it up. So, what is element 9 about? There it is. Here again. 9 of 10. Number 9 of 10. Element 9. The elements that make up the politics for the anti-gang initiative. Why is it that malfeasance that appears to be predominantly black people problem, the only solution is to lock them up, as opposed to white people criminal activity? There are always efforts to treat the malfeasant as mental health dysfunction in need of counseling and medication. Got to cover that. That's what's going on behind all this, family. Again, there's two-pronged approaches to criminality in this society, in Western society. It's just not happening in the United States. It's not just happening in Georgia. It's pretty much all over the globe where white people are in charge, where white people dominate. There's two prongs. There's a treatment, a counseling, a mental narrative that follow, as opposed to when it's black, lock them up. Let's get into this. Let's get into this real quick for us, family. There it is for you to see. And I want to start off about juvenile history, or the concept of juvenile history, to make my case. What's the concept behind juvenile history? Well, it's nothing new, but again, I've shared with you, this has been going on a long time. What's behind juvenile history? The idea of adolescent, the idea of delinquent. Again, I shared it with you on one occasion earlier, that back in the late 1800s to early 1900s, it was this onslaught of Irish gangs, immigrant gangs, is like what the narrative, what the reports were basically kind of sanitizing and cleaning it up when you see the recent research. But there's a book I want you to look at that really keeps documented factually as it went down. It was Irish gang, white people, who was more devastating, more dangerous, more violent, more criminal, more murderous than what we've seen here. The Irish gangs are documented in the book Ethnic America. Those Irish gangs would have wars that went on for weeks, using guns and Tommy guns and cannons. I ain't seen no brothers start that yet. Again, here's a little footnote in history. They like to talk about drive-bys. Like black people was the first one to introduce black drive-bys. The hood in LA and the whites, they drive-by killing. No, the first drive-by was those Klansmen on those horses, riding by in the middle of the night with the sheet on their head, shooting out your window. That was the drive-bys. Okay, let's get into that fact. But anyway, for whatever they want to say, they said there was this onslaught of gangs, Irish gangs taking over cities like Boston and New York and parts of Jersey, and they was getting crazily violent. And there became this child saving movement. And this is when we get into the lexicon, that's where the development of into the lexicon of American justice, of jurisprudence, justice system, the justice system. But, well, let's do something. Let's look at them differently. Let's not treat them like adults and give them punishment. Let's move into something that looks at the best interest of the child. You think that phrase is new? No, that phrase is old. It goes back to that child saving movement. Now, and I'll show you the documentation of behind it. And so instead of looking at treating children, young people, 13, 14, 15 as adult and punishing them and locking them up and even putting them to death, sound like the nature of a beast society. Somebody that really don't know what they're doing and easily persuaded and led, induced, or shall we say, induced? Yeah, induced is the best word for it. To follow someone who can be very manipulative, a child mind under an adult mind, or influenced by an adult society doing things. The mind wasn't fully developed yet. It went along with whatever was best in its own interest. That's psychology talk. I'm not here to get into that. But they moved, some philanthropists of that time started looking and pushing the narrative, what's in the best interest of the child. And you start hearing that phrase a lot. You've heard that phrase a lot, I should say, in movies and some television shows. You hear the best interest of the child. In education, we talk about the best interest of the child. Okay, so that what's in the best interest of the child narrative came and was introduced into the lexicon. And let's look at some of that more real documentation on it. I'm gonna look at the study of the best interests of the child in this thing here. I'm gonna get that out, bring this up. What was that? The child saving movement is what it was called, and you'll see there I got it highlighted clearly. The child saving movement, we're talking about a pivotal point. The development of the juvenile justice system in America was that in America was what became known as the child saving movement. Documentation there. Law Enforcement Assistance Administration is where you'll find that documentation. The Law Enforcement Assistance Administration. These are the people who funded that word. That's not by chance. You're looking at some very interesting people there. The child saving movement looked back and saw, this agency that fund policing, the fund police officers to law in the drug wars. That's the origins of the Law Enforcement Assistance Administration. I know I get deep in a lot of things. I hate that I can go on and show you so many connections. Let me get on to the point. The Child Savers was a group of reformers that included philanthropists, professional, and middle-class citizens who expressed concern about the welfare of children. They pushed for state intervention to save at-risk children through shelter, care, and educational programs. The result of this child-saving movement was to extend government intervention over youth behavior that had previously been the responsibility of parents and families. I want to get that fact. Let me share that with you, very fast, family. Go a little further into this into this documentation called the Child Saving Movement. The first juvenile courts. Look at what it says here. The first juvenile court was established in Cook County, Illinois. The doctrine of parente doctrine was the legal basis for court jurisdiction over juvenile and was central to the juvenile court philosophy. Let me get out of that. You can read the rest of it. I just want to read this part. The juvenile court sought to turn juvenile delinquents into productive citizens by focusing on treatment rather than punishment. It was in their psychosis. It was in their origin. It was a part of their philosophy, and and they pretty much followed up with it. In what way? And look at in what way. Let's go back again. Look at number 3. What does it say right there? Let's get that out of there. Let me take that 4 out. The best interest of the child. They weren't building prison, juvenile detention center. They built reform, training, industrial schools. Wow, look what they do when they have a different criminal crusade mentality for other people. That other people, the club that we're not in. That love that is hysterical and that love that is understanding. We get the love that is hysterical, scared, frightened, dangerous, while they get understanding. reform, training, industrial schools so that they could become productive citizens of society, as opposed to lock the son of a bitches up. Joe Biden, that's quoting Joe Biden again. We just need to lock them. We need to get them off the street. They're away from my parents. That's the society we are functioning at. That we're under the impression that we've overcome. But this thing is on autopilot, family. It's going straight as planned, as established and created. This country is working out, or continuing on what it has been worked out to be. Okay, it sanctioned the hate of Black Americans. It sanctioned us as lower caste people. It sanctioned us being left out and locked out, and the outlaw of our progress through the 3/5 clause, starting with the Constitution of the United States. Period. Okay, I know I'm rambling. The words kind of running together. They'll probably need me a little water, calm down, about ready to preach. But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about that. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about that. The Bible said, "Judge not that ye be judged, and how you judge, you shall be met unto thee." But that's not the way they truly function. They have a different way of judging us. I'm gonna get out of that. I don't want to get into that mode right in. But the best interest of the child became a part of the narrative because of this philosophy of the child saving movement. And so, compared to us, as I distinctively like to put it down, as opposed to what we will get, family, is this element here. Let's take that out, and we take this. There we go. We will go there, as opposed to this is what goes down for us. Okay. The nature of government. White people, criminal crusade, are always backwards. They look at effects as causes, and behind their criminal crusades are plans for death and destruction for Black people. I'm just gonna put it out there. We have an enemy. We keep fooling ourselves and think, well, we don't, but it's there. The proof is in the pudding. That's what happened. So what's going on? How is it they just keep assigning to us this death and destruction plan? Locking us up is death and destruction. I don't care how you take that. As opposed to themselves, there's understanding. There's understanding. Well, and then look, it just doesn't stop there when they get into their looking at their own malfeasance and how they address their malfeasance. Actually, what we don't seem to understand is they're into really decriminalizing their behavior through this guise that's going on. They're decriminalizing their behavior. Look again. Let me show you that book. As opposed to our behavior, they criminalize it. 100%, family. They will criminalize our behavior. 100%. Get that out of there. Let me get this here. 5 there. Go over here. Sorry for talking to my codes on the thing. There we go. I want you to see this part right here. Ethnic America. It's this book where they document clearly the approach to decriminalizing juvenile youth behavior, particularly white youth behavior, and look to create an atmosphere like the reform school setting. They were so much concerned with how the trees was planted, and the environment of the place will help conduce and condition the young person to make a more productive, be a more productive person in society. That the whole gamut of the structures were laid out to change that mindset and make it productive. Where, as opposed to us, we see this happening, and the documentation, the criminalization of black children, and what's going down with us. The criminalization of the black child is going down with us, as we can see. We'll put that there. Put this here. We're back in my right one. Get back on that. Out of that. Yeah. As Georgia, and why I make that point? Again, that code. House Bill 994, basically, I'm using the law as example of it, not just this book, but look at the Georgia Code itself. The Georgia Code itself says basically, hey, it will take enjoin from the juvenile court system and place the youth into superior court based on certain allegation made by the prosecutor. All the prosecutor's got to do is read the police report. Simply put is that he observed the young man wearing matching clothing, having tattoo on. He was out there walking with him with the handkerchief hanging out of his pocket. So he must have been a gang member. All that prosecutors make that statement, swear to that statement from a testifying police officer, and there begins the process of moving the youth 13 to 17 years old from juvenile court system into superior court. Now we see the young man being prosecuted by a superior judge and facing being incarcerated with adults. That's the fact of the law. I'm going to use the law as an example. I'm not going to pull up the code anymore. I just wanted to use that image here because to show you the annotated codes of Georgia throws it away from looking at what is actually going down right now in the state of Georgia. This is what's happening. 13, 14, 15-year-old young men are standing in front of a superior court judge and facing or being placed in adult prison facilities. Let's be clear about that. That's what's going on for us compared to what went on toward them when there was a certain conditioning happened where it led, and when all of a sudden these Irish gangs was popping up everywhere. And again, I'm not saying that there's no gangs. I'm just saying the rise in gangs is not to the extent that these people are saying. And if there is a gang activity, why isn't there more of a conditioning moving toward looking at treating them and getting them out of this atmosphere than just locking them up? Okay, that's what I want to get into right there. That's pretty much it. So we got the outlawing of our progress here. And again, it doesn't matter what happens or what we're doing or what's going on. There's always a criminalization of our behavior happening. I know that many of us have seen in almost every major city these water boys, black boys, standing at the intersection along the freeways trying to sell water. After the pandemic, everybody ain't got no money. They looking to hustle and make money as best they can. As I said in another earlier video essay with you, if vaping was a predominantly black problem, vaping would have been outlawed because they were counting the number of deaths behind vaping, right? So again, the media was in the game of creating there's a problem, a major crisis going on, and they were starting. All of a sudden, that cycle ended. That's the game of the white media. They were counting the number of deaths. Young people were dying from vaping. They plan on. They hope that, they bet that you won't remember. They bet they know you can't remember past 3 days. That Instagram short memory thing got you so wrapped up in that idiot stuff you watching on that phone all the time that you don't see the game. They were counting how many people were dying from vaping. Had linked this thing all the way back to Europe and then London, and we was getting into panic while the people over there was like, "Hey, what's going on?" They were ready to outlaw vaping. No, I ain't into that. I'm not concerned with that, but I'm just talking about how the media operates. Now we see water boys everywhere. And no good digs on Channel 5 here in Atlanta. He good for making them people a buckhead feel good. All of a sudden it's dangerous. Whatever you do, don't stop. Don't open your window. Just keep going. These young men are trying to make money. And so the narrative behind that is they're dangerous. They got into fights, or they got through water bottles, or somebody got hurt, and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what we do, our behavior seems to always want to be outlawed. Let me case in point. Let me document for you how suddenly, all the time, we find our behavior the main thing that's getting outlawed around here. Share with you this real quick, family.
I've been doing bad stuff all my life. It's time to make a change, to do something positive, I'm just trying to get honest money, an honest dollar. I clean 100 cars, that's $100. If they pay, my apologies. My apologies. I was wiping it off. At the end of the day, we all just trying to feed ourselves and feed our family, take care of our bills. Just like every working person take care of their bills, we out here working the same. They don't look at it as the same. We have eviction orders for Monday. So I'm
gonna stop right there, family. Again, if you didn't catch the top of the article, what I was sharing with you from it, and bring myself back in here, clean off the whiteboard, is what we were seeing is, again, it's the outlawing of our progress, and what was happening in Baltimore under this no good Negro right here, shall we say, non-threatening black people. This man had it. Was behind initiative ordinances, city ordinances, laws, basically to ban squeegee boys from cleaning people's cars on the side of the road. He was getting so much flack from the, people saying they was being harassed, hurt by these people attempting to wash their windows on their cars and just coming up at them asking to wash their windows. So here, this no good Negro, one of the clear people I like to call them. The non-threatening Negroes in politics, who are basically the clerks behind the desk, who have no power, that once they become get in the seat of power, all of a sudden control boards are created to make sure they can't spend no money. He decided he was going to console his white friends and create a law that would ban squeegee people from coming. What that was about. So go back, you can run the video after this and go back, you'll see the title in the Baltimore Sun. This no good Negro doing the bidding of white people, criminalizing our behavior. That's all that is. That's my main point. But look how they go after themselves. Even after way back, almost 100 years, they made sure they decriminalized their behavior while they've been criminalizing our behavior. They're doing more today in the future. What they're doing now, family, is cleaning up their past. Yes, they are cleaning up their past. They're cleaning up their past through measures like this. You're not going to see me for a moment because I got to share with you, family, these things here. Look how they're cleaning up their past. Stop it right there. They're cleaning up their past. Make sure I got the right one on there. I'm talking about they're starting to clean with something called the Opioid Treatment Act. Again, thanks to the pandemic, you would think the opioid addiction is over, and the pandemic is over. That's the trick right there. It ain't no pandemic behind no opioid use. There's criminal activity going on behind opioid use in this and what's going on right here, family. Let's see. Make sure I got the right one up. Go back over. We're gonna clean off the whiteboard for a second and take that out. See me for a second, family. I want to make sure I push the right one and put it back up there for you. Yes, this is dealing with the opioid treatment. Right. There we go. Come on up. There it is. Opioid treatment program. Additional substance abuse treatment. This is coming from the U.S. Congress. The Opioid Treatment Act of 2019, I think it is. But anyway, they were setting up funding. So here's for your documentation. Treatment programs, establish new addiction treatment facilities, residential and outpatient, including covering capital costs for establishing sober living facilities, recruitment and increasing reimbursement for certified mental health providers. You see, Congress into the game of decriminalizing, and not only decriminalizing malfeasance that are white people problem, they are cleaning up their past. They're going to clean it up for them. And they're going to treat them. They're treating them as they need counseling. They need medical attention. They need some kind of a treatment suggesting more drugs, to help get them off of the drug. But that's what it's the approach again to white people malfeasance is to treat it as a mental condition that deserves attention from a medical perspective without being redundant. And it doesn't stop there, family. Let me show you the next one they get into. Clean off the whiteboard. And what is this right here? HR 4899, the 115 Congress to amend the public health. What are they creating? What are they providing? An act to provide grants for the treatment of heroin, opioid, cocaine, methamphetamine. Now, all of these are white people problems. This is the Substance Abuse Treatment Act of 2018, I think it is. I don't care about the year. PCP, all of them. Again, this is their approach to dealing with malfeasance that are predominantly white people's problem. Treating it as a mental conditioning, a medical condition that deserves counseling, treatment meaning some kind of medication. But the answer is not to just lock them up, even though if you're caught with meth today, it's a serious felony. And the opioid is a DEA controlled drug, and the way you get and the opioid crisis that they're calling, the opioid criminal contraband is what it should be known as. It's a crime that's predominantly among white people. It's the same way you deal with any other contraband that's controlled by the DEA. They still hustling it, selling it. They count before the pandemic. They was counting how many people had died from this thing. So enough said there. And it doesn't stop there. I don't want to get into that. I just want you to see that's called the Substance Abuse Treatment Act. Let me get out of that one and share with you this last one right here, family, about how they're cleaning up their past. And they acknowledge it, family. Let me come on down how this is more. More involves, the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act of 2020. Had it not been for the pandemic, family, we've been messed up. We would have been messed up, locked up on the serious numbers. And I think we're really locked up more than we really are acknowledging here. Even this is what I wanted to point out right here in this crazy law. This is the more. It's dealing with the war on drugs and how so many people got locked up and got bad records and all this stuff. Isn't it interesting as they attempt to expunge, clean up their records? See, doing this nonsense. Making this available to certain people. Look at see that nice word they want to use down there called cannabis. That's the game, family. I know I'm saying a lot, pushing in a lot right here. I need to wrap this up. They're acknowledging this more. That's going to be about expunging the records of white people who are dealing with marijuana. Because as you know, it's an area that are predominantly white. Marijuana, cannabis is legal, but whereas with us, it's still a serious crime. You can find yourself locked up behind that. They're acknowledging this MORE Act. How that was a war on drugs aimed at the people of color, namely black men who got locked up, who got more time, as the FBI pointed out. Let me get out of that. That's all I wanted to point into that. So that it doesn't stop there. But at the same time, they're cleaning up their past. Let me get into where I want to be now. As they clean up their past, clean up their activities in their criminalization, and it goes even into the mass shooting. Mass shooting in the context of what, family? Let me bring myself back in here. The mass shooting element here. Let me get into this real quick. Right. Good to bring that over there. They always bring in this mental narrative, even behind mass shooting, dealing with their criminalization. I'm talking about their malfeasant behavior. The white media is always pushing this narrative that, hey, whatever they're doing is a mental condition. There's something as if it's abnormal for them. It's out of the ordinary. That's not how they act. But yet, the facts are not there. And the mental... I remember when this crazy nut went in Vegas, was shooting down from the hotel, killed 54 people. I remember the students came in the next day angry because it caught everybody's attention. But yet, the first thing the media wanted to start talking about to everybody was there was a mental condition that was going on. So they push a mental conditioning behind their criminal malfeasance, while with us, it's great criminality. And even connect that criminality, they start looking into your past, that person prior. They start looking at even in the priors of parents, step parents, and even cousins, as they talk about us. But with them, they talk about mental conditions, as this is not normal for white people, when it is very normal for white people to do these kind of things. Let me push on through. I want to bust that the narrative they like to push at us, family, by showing you this. Let's go into this real quick. I know you want to see me, but I gotta bring up the facts about it, looking at the Secret Service documentation about the narrative on, mental conditioning. Look at this. The United States Secret Service National Threat Assessment. Look where it puts the mental narrative from its study of the facts, family. Look at that. And it's not just the Secret Service who puts that motive or put behind their psychosis of why they went on a mass shooting at somewhere around 20, highest at 21%, 2019, 2018, 19%, 14%. When it comes to real people, let me pull that out so you can see the real numbers behind that. Now you'll see me again and bring in number 5, bring the FBI report on it right here. This is the FBI looking at a mass shooting in this country, family. And the fact that it points out is this, dealing with that mental narrative. The key findings of phase 2 of that study looking at the mental narrative. I want you to look closely at number 4. The FBI could only verify that 25% of active shooters in the study had ever been diagnosed with a mental illness. Of those diagnoses, only 3 had been diagnosed with a psychotic disorder. Mental. Only 3 out of 63 people. Yeah, that's the low 20. That's what they mean when they say 25% or 21%. Out of the numbers they're dealing with, it's hardly any of them. Basically none. But yet the media, every time it talks about the criminality and malfeasance, white people, they bring that up solidly at the top, like it's all of them, 100%. Again, the game of the media is to lead us away from the truth, and to lead us into confusion, to look to it for clarity, which it will never give. So let me get out of that with your family. I want to get into my last point here. I know, come on, bring that right here. Here we go. Get in. What's my last point? It's always basically this, family. What is the family? You know what I think it is. It's this. It's the death wish. Amos Wilson pointed out clearly, and I think he's right about it. It's a death wish. It's a great death wish. The attitude of white folks, when they're through with people, when they want to move the people that are undesirable, when they want to eliminate people, put them on reservations, when they want to get people out of the way so they can benefit from all of the resources, have it all to themselves, get you the quote unquote useless eaters, the people who are taking up the space, put them on reservations. Well, they start killing them off. All right, put diseases into their blankets, take them into concentration camps, gas chambers, and it's a death wish. There's the death wish that they wish that we were not here. They didn't expect us to make it past slavery, and definitely during emancipation, whatever that was about. They expected us to lose our mind and pretty much desire to leave the country, pretty much wipe us out. Something. Because again, we were the natural enemy of white people, thanks to the 3/5 clause. It's a death wish. Again, back on the main point, closing this out. Their malfeasance is looked at as in a decriminalized way, a mental health condition, while as for us, what goes down is simply this. Where are we with that, family? I'm gonna get myself out of here. With us, it's pretty much this. It's the lock the son of a bitches up. Joe Biden, thank you. Get out of that. I don't want to hear them, but that's enough for him. That's what Joe Biden is about. Locking us up. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and get out of that. I see sometimes things like to freeze up on me. I'll wrap this up, family. I see where I'm at. There we go. Sorry for that. But that's what happens on. It's that they look at our malfeasance as something to lock us up. Just lock them up. Throw away the key. As opposed to their own. Save them. treat it as a mental condition. It's to save them, treat it as their own, treat it as a look at them with love and understanding, look at them as their own. But as with us, it's the criminalization of black children. It hasn't stopped. It's continuous going on. I made my point in this. I'm gonna wrap this up. I think I've said enough. I went over my number of time. Every time I think this is gonna be a short talk, it gets to be long. It goes a little further than where I want to be. But just so you know, this is what I'm about. As we get out of this, it's on you. Clean up the whiteboard. That's where we are. We're trying to be aware. This is happening in the state of Georgia. Again, we got 50 some odd counties, and if in that 50 some odd counties, one child, one black man, one black child, female woman has been facing with a charge of being associating with a known gang member. We got 50 some odd children facing this crime, facing this charge, facing this time, and it's not even a crime. But I should say that. Let me clear my words up. But that's what I wanted you to beware. Again, this is what we're talking about. So again, it's on you to make the difference, but it's on you to do the work, and make the difference. That's how that goes down. So with enough being said there, I think I made all my thoughts. I'm just pondering there just to wrap on out of this, but that's it for me right here, family. Share this video, comment, like. Let's be wise. Class dismissed. And again, share the video, make comments, share the video, make comments. Class dismissed.